Joining me now, the executive director of One Virginia 2021, great friend of mine. He has done a miraculous job with very little resources. Brian Cannon runs One Virginia 2021. This is the organization that is trying to get nonpartisan redistricting reform in Virginia. He's been doing it for 5 years. He used to come on my show, and I'd be like, dude, forget it. You're never going to get this done. This is like the hopeless enterprise of all time. Now he is days away from making this a reality and getting real redistricting reform on the ballot as a constitutional amendment in Virginia in November. But it passed in 2019. Now it's got to pass again the same way in 2020. But I want to talk about the hypocrisy that is going on right now with some Democrats who are trying to bash this now that they have power. When they didn't have power, they were all for it. They voted in favor of it in 2019. Now in 2020, they have power. So now they want to control the districts and screw the people, let them eat cake. Joining me now is Brian Cannon. Hey, Brian, great to have you, man.
Hey, John. Thanks for that hell of an introduction, man.
You are the little engine that could and would, because what you've done with very little resources in a 5-year period has been nothing short of miraculous. Because when you started this battle, like, we blew it off. Like, there's no way that the politicians are ever going to give up their power to manipulate everything and choose their own constituents. I remember there was one. Remember when it was Bryce Reeves trying to make a deal with Cray Deeds, and like Deeds would get more of Reeves Democrats and Reeves would get Deeds Republican. Remember that? That was what, 2 years ago?
Oh yeah, all the little I get my district gets safer, your district gets safer, voters get screwed, but that's okay.
I know. It's like they're picking the constituents they want. I mean, this, and look, I like Bryce Reeves and I like Deeds, and to Deeds' credit, Deeds said, "No, I'm not going to do that. That just doesn't feel good to me." All right, so where are we now? We got a lot of hypocrisy going on. By the way, Eric Holder's group, not a peep out of them. Where are we now in elections and privilege? Because you're going to get it through the Senate. No problem there. It's now bottled up in Joe Lindsay's committee. Give us the detail. Where are we?
Yeah, so last week the Senate passed the amendment, overwhelmingly bipartisan again, 38-2. We were 39-1 last year, so losing one isn't bad. John Edwards and Scott Surville are the two that voted no, which is fine. You don't need to run up the score that much. And we've got the votes on the House floor. So the amendment is now over in the House of Delegates, and it's really up to one person, John. It's just up to Speaker Eileen Filler-Corn. It's it. She could put this to the committee. It should pass in the committee. She could even just directly put it, if she wants, on the floor. She doesn't have to go through the committee process. The Speaker of the House in Virginia is pretty darn powerful, and we are watching her, I guess, wield this power by delay, and wait.
All right. So if you have to depend on Eileen Filler-Corn and Caucus of the Corn, that's not a high percentage bet to get this done. Because, as you know, Eileen likes to lead by consensus, and everybody does kumbaya, and then she's happy. You're not going to get kumbaya here, so you're going to get inaction. Apart from Eileen, is there a way for, because you have a majority in Elections and Privileges Committee, you have a minority in the subcommittee that is handling this. Can the majority of the committee members rip this out of the subcommittee and get it to the main committee? Is there a way to do that?
The full committee could take action. All you need is a majority of them to make things happen. We've got more than that, and folks who have committed on record to supporting and working to pass this amendment. But like I said, the Speaker could just put this on the floor too. I mean, it's rather remarkable, John, because I feel like for years I battled with Republican speakers. Now, we had some of the best allies we had were Republicans in the Senate, but we battled with Republican speakers of the House about this very issue. And to their credit, while we didn't see eye to eye on the issue, to those Republican speakers' credit, they let it get a vote. They let it get an honest vote. And so far, Speaker Fillercorn has not done that at all. And they set an artificial deadline for themselves of Thursday, so that usually all the things from the House have to go over to the Senate, vice versa, by the 11th, by last week. They bumped it back. They did this kind of creative parliamentary rule where they would allow themselves a longer time until February 20th. And it doesn't look like they're even bothering to take it up then. So here's what I see. There's really only one viable option for redistricting reform. So I think the House Democrats really have a gut check on this, and I agree with your assessment is right. I think Speaker Fillercorn wants universal consensus on this stuff, but you never get universal consensus when you're taking power away from politicians and giving it to the people. You never get that.
Of course.
And we gotta have a moment where they realize it's either we get this amendment through or we get nothing. And could you imagine, John, after years of talking about redistricting reform and voting for it overwhelmingly, even Speaker Fillercorn, before she was Speaker, voted for this, voting overwhelmingly for it just a year ago, and then doing nothing. That's like the height of hypocrisy to me. I can't believe they would do that, but I also know that anything's possible.
All right, so the Speaker, Fillercorn, Eileen Fillercorn, Caucus of the Corn, she voted for it in 2019. Now she has the power to simply get it out of the subcommittee. That's all. And I think that's all we're asking. Let the House members, put it to a vote in the well. Let the House members decide. And we both know that you've got probably 60 to 65 positive votes, right? Somewhere in there.
Yeah, I think it gets. I think we could even get north of 70. There were on some other bills that were related to this. We got 83 votes for it. So I feel like we could be north of 70 here, John.
70% of the entire House is in favor of getting this on the ballot as a referendum in November. And Joe Lindsay is pulling parliamentary strings in his subcommittee to bottle it up. And now you got to get it out of there. You got to get it out of a subcommittee. If you get it to the committee, you get it out of the committee because you have a majority there. That people that have come on, Democrats who have come on my show and said they would vote for it, like Sam Rasool, like Schuyler von Falkenberg, both patrons of it. Shelley Simons that beat David Yancey in 2019. She's in favor of it, plus all the Republicans. So you have a majority in the committee, but it's bottled up, and somebody's got to get it out. So if Fillercorn does nothing, which, could happen, she just does nothing, what's the next step?
Then the next step is either we try to docket it in the full committee, or you do, and this is a pretty nuclear option kind of move, you do a discharge petition on the floor of the House of Delegates. You need 2/3 of the members present, so assuming everybody's butts in every seat, we need 67 votes to do that. That's a tall order because we would be asking Democrats to directly buck their speaker on a big issue. Yeah. I don't know, man. I mean, the vote will happen, that's for sure, because I know at the very least the Republicans are going to make a discharge petition because they should.
All right, so
Democrats have done it before.
Let's walk through this. You're on the John Fredericks Radio Network. This is getting interesting. We're with Brian Cannon. He's executive director of One Virginia 2021. This is the organization for 5 years that have worked around the clock to get redistricting, nonpartisan reform, which I'm in favor of, in Virginia. They have a committee set up. It's not perfect. Nothing is perfect, right? It's not perfect, but it's the best thing that I've ever seen anywhere, and it's been lauded and endorsed by many attorney generals in a bunch of different states, both sides of the aisle. And the main thing is it gets redistricting out of the hands of the politicians and the party in charge and puts it in the hands of voters in Virginia to make good decisions so we don't have these gerrymandered districts. So that's why I'm in favor of it. Passed, just set the stage again, passed in 2019 overwhelmingly 39-1 in the Senate. Passed in 2020, 38-2 in the Senate. Passed overwhelmingly in the House when it was controlled by Republicans, 87-13. One Republican voted no. That was Lee Ware, who was in the Goochland area, and Lee Ware voted no because Lee Ware likes his district. It's all Republican. He is a delegate for life. So why would he change it? Okay, whatever. Honesty is the best policy. So he voted no. All the other Republicans voted in favor of it. And all the Democrats, now it either has to get voted on and get out of there the same way to go on the ballot, or it's dead, right? There's no amendments. You can't change it, right?
Yeah.
So
yep,
let's
right,
get
John.
to, and now it's bottled up in Joe Lindsay's committee, and to Joe Lindsay's credit, in his subcommittee, Joe voted no. He's not in favor of it. So, okay, I get that. Right,
consistency. Yeah.
So I got no.
He abstained on some
beef.
earlier votes this session. Yeah,
I got no
Lindsay.
beef with Joe. Right, I got no beef with him. He's trying to kill the bill in 2020, like he did in 2019. I got no beef. If you get a discharge petition, but you can only do it when there's 100 people there.
No. If there are 100 people, you need 67. You need 2/3 of however many butts are in seats.
All right, so the problem with that is
you need 2/3. If there's 90 people, you need 61 votes.
All right, so the problem is people can vote no and say, yes, I was in favor of it, but I don't want to go against my leadership. So they can defend the no vote that way and hide behind it, right?
Yep.
And so if Filler Corn doesn't get it out, then you've got to get somebody in the committee to get it out. How would you do that?
I think the one of the committee members could ask that the amendment be docketed, put on the agenda, and then they could have a motion about that and a vote, I believe, and hopefully it would just take a majority there to do it. Again, that's a pretty aggressive move against party leadership, but this is the first time in this decade, in the last 10 years I've been working on this, where an amendment's just not getting a vote. That's just crazy to me, John. Even the quote unquote bad Republicans who were the Democrats decried for years let the darn thing get a vote, and we're not even and they didn't even do anything. They just killed it in privileges and elections, which at least was honest, right? They shot you in the face. But this one is the pocket veto of death kind of thing that looks like it's happening.
So,
John, can we talk about? I got to ask. Can we have a second to talk about Eric Holder's group?
Yes.
Can we?
Go ahead. Yes.
All right. So you're skeptical of Eric Holder and President Obama's group that has they call the National Democratic Redistricting Committee, right? So they formed this group and they said they're for fair maps. They said they're for fair process. And I've always you've been skeptical of them, and I think rightly so, and I've been on the fence about it, thinking, well, maybe they wanted to do the right thing, and
right.
Oh, maybe they're just confused or something like that. But they're the only national group that focuses at all on redistricting reform, that has not endorsed this amendment. Mm-hmm. They're sitting out. The others, they endorsed some alternative plan, which is a lot weaker and not as strong at all. They endorsed an alternative plan, but that's gone now. Mm-hmm. And you haven't heard hide nor hair from them since that. They came in and they did a press conference in late January, and then that was it. And so I get emails from them. You're on everybody's email list, right? I get emails from them, and they're focusing on redistricting reform in North Carolina and Georgia and Tennessee and all these other places, and they don't say anything about Virginia anymore. So the hypocrisy here runs pretty darn deep, and it's disheartening for me to see it, and it's disgusting, and it's overwhelming. Like, we're going to get a lot of votes for this. This thing is going to pass if they just let the people vote.
Well, that's the shame of it, and the hypocrisy is stunning. And but you're right. When you started the call, Eileen Fillicorn has to step up here, and I get the whole kumbaya thing, and she has a very funky style of leadership, and everybody knows it. But this is one of these instances where you just can't operate that way. Eileen Fillicorn has to step up, like you said, and said, I'm going to bring this to the floor, and we're going to let my caucus and the Republicans decide if this is what they want. And you either vote up or down. I mean, it's a simple thing. But to bottle this up so there's no vote and parliamentary procedure, and it dies in committee, and then it's dead. It's not like, it's not like the gun bill where, 4 Democratic senators, not the gun bill, the assault weapons ban, and they said, well, we're going to kick it to the JLAR committee and study it and then get back to you. Okay, that's done all the time. There is no going back here. If it doesn't pass exactly the way it passed in 2019, in 2020, it can't get on the ballot. Then the whole process starts over. Then all this time has been wasted for nothing, right? And so, like you said, not a word from Holder's group, but the hypocrisy here. Look, I'm not blaming the Democrats for this, okay? But the hypocrisy of voting for something when you are out of power, and then voting opposing it when you're in power. And the next year, the same bill, I don't think you can get a better definition of hypocrisy than that.
Yeah. I mean, it tells you, man, power corrupts, absolute power corrupts absolutely, right? This is what we're looking at. And then for years I've been telling you this wasn't a partisan issue, and you kind of sort of believed it, and here you go, right? I mean, the Democrats are blocking this thing after talking a good game when they were in the minority power. It's wild, man. It's crazy to watch, and I would expect more from our leaders in Virginia. It's not how this is done in Virginia. It's not how it's historically been done, and it's not even how it's being done now. I mean, the Virginia way is changing, but it still wouldn't bottle it up and keep it away from a floor vote.
It's sad that this is happening, and it's sad that we can't get somebody to just pull it either out of the subcommittee or out of the committee and get it on the floor, and that should be Eileen. Now, as you said, your backstop, your worst case is somebody files a discharge position, and then you got to get everybody on the record. But I'm predicting now that's tough to do because because you can say I'm not voting for it. I agree with it, but I don't want to buck my leadership, and I don't like the way it's been done. So you give some of the Democrats that would vote no an out in order to hide behind Eileen's apron strings, basically.
Yeah. But we would count that as the vote. If you voted no on the discharge petition, that's voting no on the amendment, as far as I'm concerned. But you're absolutely right, John. They would have an excuse to say, "Oh, procedure," which is just a BS argument to avoid doing their job.
All right. So where does it stand now? How much time do we have, and when do you expect Eileen to make a decision?
I don't know when the speaker's going to make a decision on this, because I don't see any of the chess pieces changing. Everybody's set in their ways. We have the votes in her caucus. We've got no votes in her caucus, too. You got a few folks that are on the fence, but we kind of know they're going to lean left or lean right, or lean yes or lean no, no matter if it gets to the floor. I mean, the votes are there. They've got really another week to do this, and then they have to have all their business done by Saturday, March 7th. So that's our deadline, man. It was supposed to be tomorrow. It was supposed to be the 20th, but the House is going to blow through that, and so they're taking an extension from the professor and trying to go until the 7th to do this. But the Senate did their job. It's just now time for the House to do theirs.
Unbelievable. So basically, you got two bites at the apple. If you get it discharged out of the subcommittee to the full committee, which is privileges and elections, do you need 2/3 there, or just a simple majority to pop it out?
I think we just need a simple majority to pop it out, but a willingness of that simple majority to pop it out.
So you got two bites at the apple. You have somebody calling for it to be discharged from the subcommittee where it's going to die. Joe Lindsay's just going to have it die there and go home. And what they figure is they'll take 2 days of bad press and then they'll go on to something else. That's what they're hoping will happen, right? 2 days it's over.
Yep.
Everybody goes on to something else because of the cycle now we have in nationally and in Virginia, 2 days max, except if it's impeachment, then it goes on forever. Other than that, you got 2 days, right? So they're banking on. So you got the one bite of the apple is somebody gets it out of the committee with a discharge petition. You need 50% plus one. If you can't do that, then you got to go to the full House. That's your final. That's your final effort. And
that's
then
our last stand. Yeah,
you need 2/3 instead of 50% plus one.
Yeah, man, you're going to be a parliamentary expert along with me here, John. By the end of this journey.
Well, you've figured this out. You've done a wonderful job. This is a great bill. It's nonpartisan. it doesn't matter to me who's in charge, but the way it's gone on in Virginia, where elected officials pick their constituents, has been going on forever. And the Republicans did it. Now the Democrats are in power. They want to do it. But really, the hypocrisy of voting for it when you're not in power, and then you get the majority, and then you let the thing die so that it's dead forever. So now you can go back to gerrymandering. I mean, that's just that's why people hate politics, right? That's it. There it is.
Yeah.
I mean, if you went to Wikipedia and said, "Why don't people hate politics?" this would be it. This would be the definition of it.
Yep, it's a hypocrisy.
Complete hypocrisy. And look, I have made fun of Eileen in many ways, but she's been very good to me. She lets me do my show in any of the House offices, and we call her Caucus of the Corn and say she has a funky style of leadership. But look, Eileen, you need to show some leadership here. Everything you do can't be by consensus and kumbaya. Sometimes you just got to lead. This is one of those issues where you got to stand up and lead and make a decision and make the right one for all Virginia, not just for your party. Make the right decision, Eileen. One thing, just simply say, I'm going to do the right thing. I voted for it in 2019. I'm going to vote for it again in 2020. Well, if the chips fall where they may, it's the right thing to do. We're going to get it on the ballot and let the people decide, right?
That's right, John. Good politicians shouldn't be afraid of fair maps.
No, exactly. Oh, I love that. Good politicians shouldn't be afraid of fair maps. And the thing is, it still has to go on the ballot in November, and it still has to pass. So if it's that bad, they'll raise money to beat it, right? But then
exactly.
Virginians will decide. Virginians will go to vote in November. They'll vote for president, Congress, Senate, Warner's, Taylor, whatever, who's ever on the ballot, Spanberger, and then they'll vote on this amendment. And if they think it's a good idea, they'll vote for it. And if they don't, they'll vote no, and then you lose. It is what it is, right?
Yep, fair fight, though. I take that any day.
Me too. I'm out of time. I want to thank Brian Cannon for being with us. Brian Cannon, Executive Director, One Virginia 2021. He's done a miraculous job trying to get this done. And now we're at the goal line. It's 4th and 1. We got to punch the ball in the end zone, dude. Brian, thanks for being with us.